Welcome back to another episode of Sky U Pod, everybody. Today we're very excited to be joined by Alan from the Heel Brothers, the college huddle affiliate for the North Carolina Tar Heels. These guys constantly put out a lot of great content. We're excited to bring it to you all. Um, uh, this is a great crossover episode with them. We were on their show before. Check them out. Feel free to comment, leave questions for us. Any questions you have about North Carolina this year, we'll be sure to have some experts like Alan here answer any of those questions. Um, so, welcome everyone. How are you all doing? And Alan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you guys having me. If it's as fun as it was last time, this will be a good show.
I was hoping the state fair would have started ahead of our crossover, so we could have provided more updates on that. But yeah,
Well, I
this
mean,
week though,
I brought the milk.
yeah,
It's in the cup. You can't see it, but it's in the cup.
you're
But of
fitting
course,
right in then.
it's in the Tar Heel cup, not the
Yeah,
cup.
All right. Well, to start, we're just going to have some questions for you here, Alan. We'll get right to it. I guess just a broad general question for you. This North Carolina squad last year looked really good. Obviously, Drake May, top quarterback, arguably of the draft last year. He departs, but I feel like, our coach, PJ Fleck, just said today during an interview that North Carolina isn't rebuilding, they're just reloading. So I guess from a fan standpoint, what do you think? What are your expectations for this season from this squad? And are you excited for it?
I am definitely. I'm excited. I'm always excited. I think fans of a not of a national contender, maybe on the level of a conference contender, or somebody just wants to be successful at football, but you always get excited the closer it comes. So the closer we get, the more excited I get. um this rebuild versus reload, unfortunately that sounds kind of like a lot of coaches speak, um on his part.
PJ
We
does
do
that
have
a
a lot.
lot.
yeah,
We have a lot. We have a lot of returning players. Drake May isn't one of them, unfortunately, because if Drake was on this team, then I do believe that we'd probably be the favorite to win the ACC this year. But he's not. So we have the quarterback battle between Max Johnson and Connor Harrell. It's looking more like Max Johnson's going to take it just because of the experience factor. Uh, but we got a lot of young guys on defense, a lot of young, unproven guys, especially at the middle linebacker spot. We got some young guys that have been hurt early in their career, but they're now having to start at the safety. We might have a true freshman on the offensive line. Um, but yeah, so I would call it a rebuild, reload-ish type. We brought some talent back, but the the signal caller is still up for grabs.
sure, sure. And then let's just get your thoughts. I guess what are North Carolina's general thoughts about like Mac Brown? Still happy with him? I believe he was there right before going off to Texas. Then he was in the studio and came back. So just what are the fans' thoughts overall about Mac Brown and what he's done in this second stint with the Tar Heels?
UNC fans as a whole, since we went from Sam Howell quarterback to Drake May at quarterback, and we don't have anything to show for it. I think UNC fans as a whole have forgotten where UNC was before Mac Brown got here. Um, the last 2016, I believe, was North Carolina was 2-9. Of course, 2015 was that miraculous year. They went 11-1. They lost their opener to South Carolina and went undefeated the rest of the year, and then ended up losing to Clemson in the ACC championship on a offsides call where he was clearly not offsides. It was on an onside kick. They said North Carolina was offsides. There was not offsides, and North Carolina actually recovered the onside kick, which is what, like less than 20% of a chance
Oh
throughout the
yeah.
entire college season. That's neither here nor there. So Matt Brown 2.0 comes in. 7-6 his first year. Sam Howell was his starting quarterback as a freshman. The next year they made it to the Orange Bowl. The next year was after COVID. Yeah, the year after COVID, we opened ranked 10th at Virginia Tech, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's went around Twitter. And if you haven't, I would recommend go look at just Google, tweet, X, search for Virginia Tech versus UNC open, like the start of the game, and just the amount of people in that place.
Yeah.
And North Carolina lost that game before the whistle was blown, I believe. It was just that place was just absolutely on fire.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing that I've ever seen. Um, so then Drake May comes in, and then like North Carolina gets out to these real hot starts, 6-0, then doesn't win another Power Five game. Then the next season, it's the same thing. You win early, then you lose all the games late, and not to mention you lost 3 in a row to NC State. Uh, then you lose unexplainable games to Georgia Tech, Virginia. So people are. Mac Brown has a saying, nine's not enough, but we can't. North Carolina can't seem to find a way to get past 9. So now without these, high level NFL quarterbacks, everybody's the fan base as a whole that I can get a read off of, they seem to think that UNC has missed its window for national contention, and now it's more
Sure.
can they compete on a conference level. So they're happy, but they're not happy. If
Gotcha.
that makes sense. I don't think Matt Brown's too old. I think he wants to win. His whole thing was I want to leave this place better than what it was. Of course, it's better than what it was. The floor is raised from now to when he came.
Right.
But with when you get a bunch of 5-star kids and you can't produce, you can't win, or I think North Carolina's lost five consecutive games that they've been a 10-point favorite and they've lost them. A
Really?
10 or more
Wow.
point favorite. North Carolina has lost 5 of those games. And Matt
Wow.
Brown's tenured 2.0. And honestly, the fan base is kind of, I think you could say fed up with it.
Right.
But yeah, it's a roller
So
coaster over here, man.
you brought up his age. You don't think he's too old. Is there a guy on the staff that you guys think would be like the next guy, or is it just kind of we're gonna ride out this era with Mac Brown and then figure it out from there once it's done?
Um, that's a really good question. North Carolina has a thing. They like to hire from within.
Okay.
Um,
Looks like the
yeah.
Hill
So
brothers chiming in.
yeah, I guess I'm assuming that's my brother Nathan.
Unless your account got hacked.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, Nathan, he thinks Lonnie Galloway is the coach that should take over next. He's an excellent recruiter. He's our wide receivers coach. He recruits for the wide receivers. We're stacked. Receiver, we're stacked. We're returning. We're returning Kobe Paysor, J.J. Jones, Nate McCullum that transferred from Georgia Tech to. This will be his second season from there. You got Jordan Ships, a freshman. Chris Culliver, he's a sophomore, and we're just loaded at that position. It just seems like every year Lonnie's bringing in somebody that's a 4 or 5-star recruit that's just going to be a stud when they get their opportunity. But my thing is Lonnie hasn't been a coordinator. I'd say he hasn't been a coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator for the bowl game 2 seasons ago when Chip whatever his name was, I was our offensive coordinator, and he left for Wisconsin to take the
Yeah,
offensive coordinator job there. Um, so I think he did the play calling for the offense that ball game. But other than that, man, he doesn't have any coaching experience.
sure.
We have a lot of analysts. Freddie Kitchens, he came from Cleveland. He was a head coach for Cleveland. Our defense coordinator Jeff Collins, he was the head coach. He took over for Georgia Tech. He wasn't that successful, but that I don't really can't really fault him for that because Georgia Tech was really like running the triple option when he took over, so he had to
Right,
completely overhaul that system.
right. Yeah, that's tough. That's
But
great.
but if I don't think they're going to run Mac Brown off. I don't think
Sure,
Mac Brown gets fired. I'm not going to say he can't. If North Carolina can only manage to win 5 games on this schedule, you might be looking at either a really hot seat or I'm just not the man for the job type situation.
sure,
Sure.
sure.
But if a hire comes, I would expect it to come in from inside the program. Um, so we got some really good analysts, assistant coaches, coordinators, but boy, that program being a mess, I think
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of the names at wide receiver, and obviously with Drake May no longer being with the program, I guess are there concerns on the offensive side of the ball? You still have a lot of talented players around the quarterback, but is it, does the quarterback have to work for this offense to have be successful, or is it possible to have a quarterback that can kind of be a facilitator, let guys like Omari and Hampton just run the ball all over the field and distribute it to those skilled players, or is there a concern there after Drake May departs?
There is some concern because there's concern. I'm not going to speak for everybody. There's concern on my part because typically how the North Carolina seasons went, it's like we're not playing ugly. We're not winning a game 21-17, 14-10. We're not doing that. These games are going to be shootouts. We're scoring. It might be 34-31 or 27-21 or it's not like these, defensive stoppers. That's not been our game. And if we are down and we're down by 3 or 4 with 2 minutes left, then we're giving the ball to Drake May and we're basically throwing it on top of him. Please save us, Sam Howell. Please save us. Like do something special. I can't remember how many times I was sitting on the couch and looking at my wife, and I'd be like, Drake, do some of this Heisman shit.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I was like, do some Heisman stuff, please.
Yeah,
Do some Heisman stuff to let us win the Virginia game last year. I was like, just do some of the Heisman stuff. But comes to find out, during the Virginia game, the week after practice, he sprained his ankle and could barely walk. Nobody knew it until after the season. He did so from the Virginia game on. He was kind of different. Nobody knew it, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter. But Omarion Hampton only got 10 carries in the second half. So we'll transverse to Omarion Hampton. I think this year's team's going to be a run-first team. Not because I don't think Connor Harrell or Max Johnson can throw the ball. He's just so talented, and our offensive line is remarkably bigger. We got two bookends at tackle that are 6'8", 300 some odd pounds. We got a 6'5" center. One of our guards is 6'5". The other guard, he's like 5'10", but I wouldn't want to meet him in the alley. Willie Lampkin, that's his name.
right.
He come from Coastal. I mean, he's just a little bowling ball, but I mean, he's won it for a reason. So I mean, we have an excellent running game. Then we brought in Darwin Barlow from the Trojans, and he was behind whatever running back that was like top like NFL caliber last season, but it was his last year. He wanted to transfer out and get a fresh start.
Sure.
So, and he's built kind of like Hampton is. So I mean, we're going to really have that 1-2 punch, I think, at running back. So I mean, you don't have to have an ace quarterback, in my opinion, this season to get the job done. If you can just hit some 5-10 yard out routes or just dink and dunk, run the ball, and when the safety drops down, hit them with a play action, and if you get a deep shot, you get a deep shot. If not, just take the yards as you get them. We don't need hero ball because we don't have a hero on our team this year outside of Omarion Hampton.
So you mentioned the offensive line being big and beefy, and sounds like you're leaning towards North Carolina's expected to run the ball maybe a bit more this year. Do you think the offensive line is going to transition well to that? Or is there any concern about the offensive line potentially being a weakness on the offense at all?
Last season, Omarion Hampton took 98% of the snaps at running back. And our offensive line was garbage, like hot garbage. I think we had like 20 or 30 something sacks allowed. And that has nothing to do with the running game. But he accumulated 1,504 yards. I mean, he was a finalist for I think they call it the Doak Award, the best running back in the nation, that went to the guy from Oklahoma State. So he can run the ball. He has superior vision. All we need is some type of hole for him to get through, and he's got legit track speed. I think he's like in the low like at high 4.4s, low 4.5s on the 40. Sure. So I mean, he's over 200 pounds. So I mean, he's not afraid to lower his shoulder in the hole and just try to run through somebody. So I mean, he's your every down back. I mean, and then you got Darlin Barlow to come in to spell him. So I mean, if he's fresher in the fourth quarter, there's not a lot of people that are going to want to meet somebody like that in the hole in the fourth quarter when everybody's exhausted.
Right.
So I mean, I think the offensive line, the best attribute we have is especially Willie Lampkin. And I don't Howard Sampson. He's starting at our left tackle. I would assume. He's the recruit from D3, but from all accounts, he's just a diamond in the rough type guy. But I know Willie Lampkin, they would love to run behind Willie Lampkin because, I mean, he just bulldozes whoever's in front of him. So I don't think running the ball is going to be a problem, but it will become a problem if they start dropping 7 or 8 in the box. And, and then you're going to need your tight ends or your wide receivers, to create some kind of separation to lighten that box up for the 2 running backs we have.
I just have one more question to the offense, then I'll turn it over to Max and Spencer. Is there any chance Nate McCullum doesn't feel like playing this first game? Because he killed us last year. I mean, everyone had like a big catch last year against the Gophers for you guys. And I know Drake May was great, but he demolished us. 165 yards and a touchdown against us last year. Do you mind asking him to just sit this one out?
See, that's really unfortunate for you guys because the latter part of the year he was hurt, so he didn't get to play a lot. And from what I've heard from camp, he is 100% healthy, 100% ready to go. And the tallies that I've heard, he has not dropped a single pass that's been thrown his way during fall camp.
Your brother says Nate is on one this offseason. Well, that's great. That sounds great for you guys. I'm glad that's working out for you guys.
When he came into, in all seriousness, when he came into UNC, he had 2 drops on his career.
Really?
He had dropped 2 balls his entire career, and in one game against Virginia, he dropped 6, but that was after his hamstring issues. He dropped 6 that one game.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That day.
I'm going to transition here to the defense now. You mentioned your concerns last year with the defense. This year, what needs to change to see an improvement? Who are some standout players that you think will make a big impact? And how do you all feel about Jeff Collins as the hire at defensive coordinator?
Me personally, I think I like Jeff Collins as the defensive coordinator. When he was with was it Mississippi State in Florida or Ole Miss in Florida? I know it was Florida, but he had the best defenses in the country. He got the nickname Minister of Mayhem. A brilliant defensive mind. Let's just hope that he can recreate that at North Carolina. We have the talent. There, we got 4-star and 5-star recruits all over the defensive line. They have not produced. That has to change. We got a new defensive line coach, Ted Monachino. God, Nathan's going to shoot me. I get my names mixed up. I'm pretty sure it's Ted Monachino. It was Tim Cross. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it done, so they had to part ways. And Monachino is an NFL guy, so they're really looking to get some juice. I mean, we got a 5-star that last season only played averaged 8 snaps a game. That was his sophomore, junior, sophomore year. You gotta have your guys step up. We got Joshua Harris. He transferred in this year. Did play NC State. Then he played at NC State. Then transferred to Ole Miss. Then he's transferred back to UNC. He's a real old guy, nose tackle. He said he had to move back because he's married, got 2 kids, one on the way. He had to come back home. So that's why I found that out. That's why he came back. He's really been that anchor in the middle, from what I can tell. Then of course you got Kamen Rucker. I'm pretty sure everybody knows the name Kamen Rucker by now. He was one of the top defensive ends, rush ends from last season. Picked in the top to be one of the top ones this season. Behind him, you got Des Evans, another 5-star that just hasn't produced, but they say he's looking like they've unlocked him. Maybe the coaching change, maybe because it's his last year. Then sophomore. What is his name? Oh, Bo. Come on, this is why I need Nathan. Jesus Christ, I'm terrible with names. It's Bo Atkinson. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. Bo Atkinson. People are going to slaughter me, but another guy, absolute monster off the edge. But it's really just the interior, and if you ain't got interior linemen, then you're not going to stop the run. You're not going to stop the run, and the easiest way to get to the quarterback is right up the middle. And if you ain't got nobody creating any pass rush up the middle, you might as well forget it.
Right.
But no, I mean, I like the hire of Jeff Collins. He's a more aggressive type guy. He likes to bring exotic blitzes from all over the field, safety, corner, linebacker. Maybe drop one of the ends into coverage. But
so if you were to weigh in on a strength of this defense, would you go with the defensive edge position just as far as personnel wise?
Yeah, see, Bo Atkinson. There you go, Nathan. I knew I had it right. Let's go.
Yeah.
No, I would not.
No?
I think the strength of our defense this year is going to be the cornerbacks and the safeties.
Okay.
Marcus Allen, he's started as a freshman last year. Put on from what I said at camp, he's put on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle, so he's really rocked up. And teams wouldn't throw to his side of the ball last year. They absolutely they just wouldn't throw at him.
Okay.
Then Elijah Huzzy, he's rotated from the star position back to his normal position because last year the guy that started at star, DeAndre Borkins, he got hurt season-ending injury in fall camp, so they transferred Huzzy, who was a natural corner, to star. He's back at corner, so that's going to be our 2 corners. And Huzzy is an absolute ball hawk. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 6-7 interceptions this year. I really would. Then our DeAndre Borkins, who was the stars, moved back to safety. Then Will Hardy is going to be our other safety, third-year guy. He was banged up all last year. Really couldn't get on the field because of hamstring issues. Shoulder issues. I apologize. Shoulder issues. And then we got he's really, you might as well call him a true freshman, but it's his sophomore year. He started the West Virginia game. Caleb Cost, he's going to be our star guy. He's real big, real physical, and real quick. He plays two ways. He plays for the baseball team and the football team.
Oh wow,
Oh
nice.
wow.
So he's in charge of the run fits and the slot receivers. But yeah, I really think they're that's going to be the strength of our team. Throwing the ball, you're gonna. I'm not going to say it's going to be tough, especially with the two corners.
Well, we're just gonna run anyway, so that's okay.
Well, fortunately for us, we got two linebackers that are pretty solid too.
There you go. So you're higher on the defense then. You believe that there will be a lot of improvement.
We have the talent on defense
Sure.
this year, and that's why I said if Drake May was the quarterback of this team, then we'd be favored to win the ACC, and then with the expanded playoff, I could definitely see us making that. But if wishes was fishes, the world would be an ocean.
Yeah.
So,
your brother mentioned another one.
Yeah, Jakeem Harris. Another safety we recruited. Well, not recruited, but he transferred from NC State to North Carolina. That's really weird because those two programs hate each other.
Yeah.
Because one's relevant and one's not. Yes, they have beat us 3 years in a row. That whatever. That's cool. Every dog has their day. Ha ha.
Yeah.
But if you just look at it, North Carolina owns NC State and everything. Absolute everything.
That is something I was actually curious about. Is NC State, in your opinion, the biggest rivalry of North Carolina, or is it still Duke even in football? I know that's the big one for basketball, NC State and Duke, but is it NC State and North Carolina for football?
It's North Carolina and Duke is its own thing. It's not that thing in football, but for the football players, it is that thing because we have the victory bell, and whoever wins that match gets the bell and paints it, either Tar Heel blue or that other blue. North Carolina and NC State don't have that. They don't have a little trophy that they swap back and forth. They don't have any of that. Last season was a solid beating for UNC. The 2 seasons prior to that, UNC never should have lost those games. They gave it away completely, and kudos for NC State for taking them. But the 2 years prior to that, shouldn't have even been a loss. Last year, they just thoroughly just come out and just run the dog train on us. It was awful, but the passion is there for NC State. But then you look at that Duke North Carolina game last year, and it was absolutely off the charts. North Carolina came back in heroic fashion, a la Drake May, and the students and the fans rushed the field, and it was absolute chaos. So everybody can say what they want. Maybe NC State. I still think everybody hates Duke more than NC State, just because NC State's not really that relevant.
I was taking a look at North Carolina's schedule, and to me, I think they got, maybe I'm wrong, but I think they got a pretty decent draw, like as far as ACC opponents this year. I mean, where do you think? Set aside the Gopher game, we'll get your prediction in a second. But where do you think this team can go this year?
Well, we actually did a prediction show where we called all our shots. Outside of the Gopher game, so that makes it an 11 game season. I think we would have had them going 10-1 if you minus the Gopher game out, and that was them losing to Florida State in Florida State, not to the red team from Raleigh.
Gotcha. So you're expecting big things this year?
If the defense plays like it should,
okay.
I would. I'm putting positive. Like, I'm always the pessimist.
Yeah.
So I am trying to put forth positive energy this season. But in all honesty, this season's really soft compared to some of the seasons we had. I mean, You got UNC Charlotte, the 49ers. That's a community college that we play the second week. NC Central, basically another community college we play. We do have James Madison, and I'm sure you've seen James Madison all over Sports Center and ESPN last year. I think they've lost their head coach, 90% of their starters from last season, so they're in that rebuild process. So who knows what that looks like? And they do have one of our running backs that transferred from us to them last season, George Pettaway.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes. Um, then Duke, Virginia, Georgia Tech. Duke lost their coach Mike Elko to the SEC and Texas A&M. Brought in Miami's old coach, Manny Diaz. Yeah, Manny Diaz. He is never. I don't even know why they hired him. He was awful in Miami. I don't know why they brought him to Duke, but that's good because I think Mike Elko had the Duke program on the train tracks, and that train was catching speed. So now that he's packed bags and headed south, thank you because we're trying to keep that Victor Bell in our house because those games became competitive the last two seasons
Right.
under his tenure. So I mean, the last thing you want to do is drop a game to NC State and Duke in the same season. That definitely might get Matt Brown fired. But yeah, there's some cupcakes, and we should feast. I hope so anyway.
Nice. Shody, Max, any more?
I got nothing, Max.
I just do want to get predictions.
Yeah, let's let
Alan,
Alan go ahead and predict.
Yeah, what do you think? How will this game, this first matchup of the season, end up here
Don't be afraid to
at
be
the
a villain.
University of Minnesota?
Don't be afraid to be a villain, and then also don't worry about Gopher fans coming after you, no matter what you say. They'll be respectful about it.
I mean, it's real. And we talked, Kurt and Max and myself and my brother. We talked about it on our podcast, man. I really think it comes back to quarterback play. We both have brand new quarterbacks and a brand new system. I think your defense, I think your defense might be a little more proven than ours. We're kind of hoping that our defense is improved. Yeah, it was a big game last year, and I think Minnesota had their chances last year. It's just Kaliak Manis couldn't hit the open receivers when he had the opportunity.
Sure.
And I don't know if you watched our prediction show. If you did watch our prediction show, you saw me flip the coin, look at it, and pick. And it really is a coin flip. And again, I think it comes down to which quarterback either makes the plays or makes the mistakes. And I in a coin flip, I'm always going to go with UNC.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But and probably only for the simple fact is Max Johnson, who I would assume to be who I'm assuming is going to be the starter.
Yeah.
He's went on the road into Alabama. He's went on the road into Auburn, LSU. He's been in the big houses. He's performed in some of the most hostile environments, and that experience pays off. Whether you don't have to be a hero. You just got to make. You just got
to. They're coming for that milk.
We're coming for the milk, baby. But yeah.
Well, I got to agree with you on that point. If it comes down to quarterback play and you just look at the two programs in recent history, I mean, North Carolina, you go back to Mitchell Trubisky, then Sam Howell, then Drake May. You guys have kind of always figured it out there. Now, it sounds like you might not think you guys are to that level, but I think if that's what the game is going to come down to, then I think that probably tips the scale in your guys' favor just because the Minnesota offense hasn't shown the ability to put up points like the North Carolina offense in recent history at all. So if you're right on that, then I'm with you on theirs.
Yeah, I think that's because y'all's running back had pretty good success last year, I believe. Of course, Omarion Hampton had success. I think it really just comes down to the quarterbacks and who can really make those plays. That's just my opinion. And Max Johnson might come out there and throw 2 interceptions, and y'all win the game by
Right.
12 or
Right.
15 or whatever.
You got an
Or he
official
might
score prediction to tag along with it?
score prediction. Jeez. Yeah. That's. I don't think this. And unless Minnesota just happens to not be able to stop the run, I don't think this is a high scoring game. We don't have some. We have receivers that can take the top off, but Max Johnson is not a deep ball thrower. Like, he doesn't throw a ton of deep balls. I'm not saying he can't throw
Okay.
it, but he doesn't throw a ton of them. So if you can tackle in space and stop the run, you have a chance to keep us under 30. I will say I like North Carolina 27-21.
All
I like
right.
it.
Yeah, that's fair.
enough.
All right, Alan.
What? Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us again, guys. They are the Heel brothers. They're our college huddle UNC affiliate, and yeah, you guys do great work, and you guys are killing it over there. The channel looks like it's growing well. So
I appreciate
really,
it. And
yeah, thanks for joining
anytime
us.
y'all want to just come hang out, we'll just do a pod just to hang out and talk football.
Yeah.
We don't. Yeah, I have fun every time with you guys. Y'all keep going, and I hope you go undefeated outside of week 1.
Hey, you know what? We feel the exact same way for you guys, so we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Hey, yo,
Thanks,
I
Alan.
appreciate you. Y'all have a good night.
Yeah, you
You
too.
too. Thanks, Alan.
Well, everyone, that was Alan with the Heel Brothers, again, the affiliate for the college huddle for the North Carolina Tar Heels. Kurt said it best. Check them out. They're tremendous. They have a lot of great content. They're a lot of fun. And yeah, we'd be happy to um, shoot the stuff with them another time.
Yeah.
But what did you guys think before we jump in kind of to our topics? What Alan was saying, what his brother was commenting. It seems like there is a cautious optimism surrounding this team, as if they have the talent, but they're not so sure if they can put it all together with the current coaching staff. That's kind of what I was getting from Alan.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
My takeaway would just be the confidence in the secondary. It
Right.
seemed like last year's an outsider that the problem was the defense for the most part. People were chunking them for big plays. It appeared so for the most part. Obviously, we didn't take advantage of that too often, but we couldn't throw the football. So to hear their confidence in the secondary, and he's right. UNC, Mac Brown always recruits, so we know they have guys with a lot of stars on the field. It's just if this new defensive coordinator can put it all together for them, then yeah, I mean, when they get it rolling, I mean, UNC's got the talent to be a top 12 team for sure. So it'll be interesting. I was a little bit surprised too, just how, um, the quarterback. Obviously, it's a huge position, but they, Alan, and even on when me and Spencer joined them, a lot of talk was on quarterback play. So that's also interesting to me because maybe we're closer there than I assumed going into this game when we were thinking about it in the off season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting just kind of taking a step back, the parallels you can draw between North Carolina's program and our program. Like, you start with, you've got a head coach who's excellent recruiter, but not too sure, maybe he's underperformed a little bit throughout the years. You've got now this season quarterback questions. You're maybe a quarterback away with all the talent you've got at running back and wide receiver. You've got a new defensive coordinator that's coming in to bring more pressure and kind of dial up some more blitzes. It seems like everything, if you didn't put a name on it, it'd be hard to tell like which team you're actually talking about because they're just so similar. Now, what Alan talked about, their strength, their defense being the defensive back room, that's definitely the opposite of our defense. I think our biggest question mark is DBs.
Right.
So that's kind of the only interesting thing, and that'll be kind of interesting to see how that works out when we play them, because if we do rely on the run, maybe that's fine that they have really good corners and safeties. If we're not gonna have to worry about going over the top of them, it might work out that way. But if push comes to shove and we have to throw the football, that's where I get nervous, because this is an offense that if Max Johnson or whoever the other quarterback is can take the top off of defense and we have to play from behind, then our Max Brosmer is going to have to prove it right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we kind of jump into our predictions for this game, let's cover some Gopher news. Today, PJ had a little press conference after practice, um, and he was previewing this morning. I don't know if it was before or after practice, but he's previewing North Carolina. Here's some of the things he said. Max Brosmer is exceeding all expectations, which I'm very pleased to hear. I'm excited about that. Hopefully, we utilize him. Um, he also says that Marcus Major reminds PJ of the great Mo Ibrahim. That's awesome to hear. Do wonder if there's a competition between Major and Taylor. I mean, it makes you think, or maybe it's just a 1-2 punch, 1A, 1B sort of thing. Play the guy who's on fire. That is yet to be seen. But it's great that we have another running back that is able to run between the tackles and be a little shifty. Probably the most intriguing thing that he said, kind of to touch off of what you were just mentioned about the D-backs, Max, is PJ is impressed with the cornerback room, the DB room, saying it's a deep room, as if there's a lot of talent there, a lot of people that can plug in spots. We know what Wally can do, but, where's the depth? And he seems to be really excited about this squad. I'm excited to see it. And although, the Heel brothers were mentioning maybe not as great a quarterback play and passing game, I think it'd still be a good test to see where this D-back room is in this first game.
Absolutely. You could maybe make an argument that UNC has the best receivers that we'll see. I mean, we have
sure.
USC as well, but just strictly receiver talent, I think it's UNC and USC as far as
right.
the receivers on the field, the best that we'll see.
And
right.
UNC's got the tight ends too. I mean, they had two guys last year that were unbelievable, which is just another, and just the history of Gopher, being a Gopher fan, a good tight end seems to just kill us every time. So if they come in with two and all the wide receivers, and preseason All-American Amarian Hampton, good luck.
It's a tall task for this defense under new defensive coordinator to see the first game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One note I forgot to put in there, Shody, is somebody did ask him about Darius Taylor's health. They asked him how he's doing.
I saw that. Yeah.
PJ's quote was, "He's great. As you know, as the rules go, I don't have to release the depth chart till 2 hours before, and basically I'm not going to talk anymore about that." So PJ being coy like always. I don't know. I mean, North Carolina is going to prepare like Darius Taylor's going to play. Wouldn't. It's not going to do anything for them to be like, oh, what? There's not a big style change coming if Darius Taylor can't go.
Right.
So I just thought that was just PJ being overly.
Yeah, I'm almost leaning towards this. I'm just going to assume he's not going to play. And
really?
Honestly, if we're hearing this about Major, I'm okay with it. I don't know. It's. I guess I'm assuming this because I feel like in the past when I do think it's all right. We're working on it every day. With the whole Cody Lindenberg stuff, and just from years past, I just feel like we got to wait for those 2 hours before. I'm just gonna assume hurt until I see the report that they're playing.
I think it's a fair assumption. I took the comments about Marcus Major as he is RB2 without question now.
Yeah.
That's how I took it. I think he's going to be the next guy in when Darius Taylor gets a spell. Maybe they have certain plays for Major as well, but obviously Darius Taylor's going to be number one when he's healthy. But that's how I took the news. Would I be shocked that the injury's worse than what we've been led on to know by PJ? No, I wouldn't. So I can't fault you for that logic.
Yeah. And I guess the last point of news that we're going to talk about, PJ did mention that defense and also the receiving room, that there's going to be more than 11 starters on defense, and they're going to do a lot of plugging in at receiver as well.
Yeah. Don't take offense to that, Alan, the Tar Heel bros. Tar Heel guys sent in. Mac Brown said he wasn't putting out a depth chart because you guys weren't That's PJ never does until there's a big. I think it's just a Big Ten rule too, isn't it? With like the new TV contract stuff that they put it out who's in, who's not 2 hours before the game
Yeah,
time, and PJ is obsessed with that rule. So if there's anything in question, you're never going to hear about it from PJ until the last possible moment because he thinks there's some advantage there. Is there really? Probably not that much for something like this, but that's just how he goes about it. So
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, what do you guys think about PJ saying specifically on the defense that there's more than 11 starters? Sounds like he's really impressed with this defensive line where he sees a lot of rotating in and out. Personally, I think that's great.
yeah,
I like that sort of look. You can kind of plug in different packages. I do have one concern about that. And we saw it during the UNC game last year where it seemed like we were trying to make too many substitutions. Guys weren't getting
oh
on the
gosh,
field too quick. They go throw
yeah,
one for long and for a touchdown. That was a coaching disaster last year.
yes it was.
Hopefully they learn from that. But that aside, I do kind of like it. What do you guys think?
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Max.
I mean, I feel like we've talked a lot this offseason about the depth at the defensive line positions. That's where I assume, like you said, that a lot of that's probably coming from. I hope we have more depth at linebacker just because we saw last year with injuries how that worked out. But yeah, specifically the DB room. I mean, that if there are, if we do have a solid rotation of guys that can kind of fill in or rotate around at corners or safety or slot or wherever, that's going to be huge because that's been the biggest question mark we've had. It feels like this offseason. There's a lot of young guys outside of Wally. I'm really interested to see, does Coy Parrish get a shot to play in some of these games early in the season? I don't know. I'd be surprised if he did, but it sounds like he's been taking some reps at even like punt return and stuff. So maybe we'll see him on the field in some capacity. But yeah, obviously you want more depth, but you hope he's not just saying it's a deep room because there's not a clear starter at every position. I don't know.
Right. Well, he
That's
did bring it up in tandem with the packages that they have for defense, and then he stopped. He mentioned nickel and dime, which everyone has, and then he's like, "I'm not going to reveal all the package that they have." So, how many are there? I don't know. I think what he's alluding to is you're going to see, the way he's talking up, I think you're going to see like a lot of the defensive ends that we've been high on out there at the same time, just in obvious passing situations. I think in the spring ball he mentioned like a speed package, like on defense. So I'm sure that brings in different safeties. I think Darius Green, he's been a heavy hitting, a thumper of a safety. So I feel like there's going to be situations where he's rotated out, maybe in like a pass obvious situation. We'll see. So I think there's a lot of guys in the secondary. They like McDonald behind Henderson, so I think they're just looking. And then they have I'm blanking on the TCU safety transfer's name as well, but they brought up him lately too. So I think all those guys have different packages where they get rotated on the back end. So I'm curious to see if it means anything for the linebackers. My hope and my call would be that they move Jack Henderson to the second linebacker spot on obvious passing situations along with Cody, so we actually have guys that can, you know, run around out there, but we'll see.
Right on. All right, fellas. It's time. The big one. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Gophers against North Carolina.
Yeah.
How are we feeling? Let's start with you, Max. What are your predictions for the game? What do the Gophers need to do to get a win? Do they win?
Yeah. The more it gets closer, the more I am worried. I'm glad North Carolina has a QB battle because if they had a guy like Drake May or even just a guy that had experience and success last year, I wouldn't think there's a shot we were winning this game. But because it's at home, we've had a good track record of winning that first game. I do think we pull out the win. If I had to put a score prediction, I think it'd be 30-27. Alan mentioned that North Carolina would prefer to probably win in a shootout or can win in a shootout. My hope is that we see that Max Brosmer is the real deal. He can spread the ball around, take some of the pressure off the run game and the offensive line a little bit. But yeah, I think we get the win. Some of the keys that I kind of wrote down just thinking about it were I do think we get to be aggressive early. I think playing from behind is not going to be a formula for success against this North Carolina offense that can just run away with it, especially if we have inexperience at defensive back and they have all the experience and talent at wide receiver and tight end. We're going to be able to contain them and also worry about their star running back Hampton. So there's just a lot of things to worry about in defense. So obviously, offensively, if we can be aggressive early, put up some points, and then PJ in the second half can play keep away, I think that's probably the best way to go about it if I were the coach. But obviously, it's easier to say, yeah, just get ahead early and play with the lead, right? But yeah, so I think we win this one. It'll be tough, but I think we'll hopefully get a lot of questions answered in this first one.
Let me go next because in our full season prediction episode, I picked this as a loss to start the season. I'm going to stick with it. So let me get my spiel out of the way. I truly believe that this defense is going to get better than they were last year and get better as the year goes on. I just think seeing this UNC offense, who can run the football, they have a stable of backs. Obviously, Hampton's the main guy, but they got guys behind him. And then I think you could make the argument this is the best receiving core that we're going to see all season, unless we run into like Ohio State or something in the Big Ten championship game. But, we brought up McCollum. They still have Nesbitt, and I believe their top guy is the J.J. Jones fella who had like 750 yards, I believe, last year as well. So they just have plenty of guys. Yeah, Allen's happy. I just think it's the tough thing to make, what we couldn't do is cover anything over the middle last year. And so going up against these weapons, when you have a great running back to also worry about, I just don't think it's going to be a complete switchover of what's, of improvement in this first game. So for that reason, I am going to go North Carolina in a close game. I will say if we are going to win, I know Allen was positive and confident in UNC's offensive line, but I think our D-line is going to have to take over since we think the ends are going to be a strength of this defense this year. So they would have to make some plays, I think, in order for us to win. But I got UNC 31, Gophers 27. I'm going a little bit higher scoring. I know it's the opening game. It probably won't get that high, but I'm going to stick with that score.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's what I think. I do think that this Golden Gopher team is going to be a little different than last year, particularly in the passing attack. Last year, if you both remember, offense couldn't do anything against the Tar Heel. Callie McManus, he went 11 for 29, 133 yards and an interception. We do have Brosmer now, we just mentioned it. He's looking great during camp. He's got experience. He has the weapons around him. Can we put it together and have a good game through the air? We know that we'll be able to run the ball hopefully pretty well, even against a talented defense like UNC. One thing that sticks out to me is last year, North Carolina, they won the time of possession battle, which is our bread and butter at Minnesota. Third downs particularly, Drake May was just completing third downs, converting it. And, we really didn't have an answer for that. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get the ball. I don't think that we'll lose the possession battle this year. And because of that, it's at home. It's going to be a big audience, big game of the year. I think that hopefully the best bet is that the Gophers keeps that Tar Heel offense off of the field. We can flip that possession times and have an offense that is balanced, both throwing and running. I think that Minnesota can avenge the loss from last year, and I think they do just that. I think that the Gophers win 27-24 at home.
I mean, Vegas has us as a 2.5 point favorite, so maybe they know something. They seem to know when I bet on games, so and I pick wrong, but they know something. Anyway, there you have it, folks. 2 out of 3. Allen's got one more note here for us to share on this. UNC hasn't won a road game to start the season in a long time. Well, there you go. And the Gophers win a lot of home openers as of late. So that's another thing we can have on our side, I guess, going into this one. But, yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys. You know what's next. It is time to start it up again. The Skyupod Parlay of the week. Week 1. It's always the easiest, in my opinion. I'll let you go first, Max, since you texted in first that you had your lock. Go ahead. I want to hear it. What is your pick?
Yeah, this is a game that I'm sure a lot of people are ready to tune into. Big matchup. I've got the James Madison Dukes covering the 7-point spread against what Allen called a junior college, the Charlotte 49ers. Here's the
Okay.
rationale. So JMU last year, very successful year, new coach, a lot of turnover, a lot of transfers coming in. I'm pretty sure James Madison's season win total was still set at like 8.5, and Charlotte's was like 3.5. So you've got
Okay.
an 8 or 9 win team against a 3 or 4 win team, and you're getting 7 points to lay. I think they win by double digits. I think it opened at 11.5 and quickly went down to 7. So I thought something was up, but I'm just gonna take the 7 points. I don't think, and it is at Charlotte. I don't think their home crowd is uh, crazy. If
You're
I've never
right.
seen it, but taking the Dukes.
Never seen it, but we're willing to put money on it. Alan agrees, Max. He says great choice. Shuddy,
Nice.
you got your lock picked out?
I sure do. And I'm keeping it with a team that is now in the ACC, the SMU Mustangs. They go on the road and play a Nevada team that is, like we mentioned earlier in a previous podcast, that is not very good. Nevada, we play them our third game of the year. They might be the worst team on our schedule, and they might be worse than they were last year. I think this SMU Mustang team is excited to be in the ACC now. They usually turn out good talent. They're pretty solid. It's a big spread at minus 27, but a spread I think that they'll hit nonetheless. I got the SMU Mustangs minus 27.
All right. I
Points,
like
points,
it.
points,
Hey,
baby.
I'm not going to
That's
question
right.
anybody's. Let's remind the audience. How many times did this Sky U Pod parlay hit last year?
Once.
We won.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
won
We
once.
won.
But so we're not gambling experts is what we're saying, but trust me, we went back, we looked at the books, we've watched the tape, and I think we're on a better path this year. So let me throw this one at you. Probably one of the biggest games of the opening weekend. I'm going Notre Dame at Texas A&M.
Wow.
Notre Dame is the underdog by 2.5 points. I'm never buying into the A&M hype until I see it. Now, I know they got a good coach. They got Duke's old coach, I believe. But guess what he's going up against? He's going up against Riley Leonard, his former stud quarterback from Duke, now leading the Fighting Irish. I think the Irish have this one circled that could be their win that gets them into a college football playoff berth if they can manage the rest of the schedule and only drop one of those games after this. I'm taking Notre Dame plus 2.5 on the road. I know it's in
I
prime time,
like
so
it.
it's scary. I'm going with the Irish.
I like that pick. I
Yeah.
like that pick a lot. Yeah. I like
And
I like this I like this parlay. I
and
think the most risky one is mine, to be honest. It's a lot of
well, it's
points.
a big point.
But this Nevada team, fellas, it's just not.
Yeah. It's got
Yeah.
blowout written all over it. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Just can it be 27 points? That's the question.
hey, none of
And
these
we're
teams
rolling
have
a
let us
fourth
down
into it,
before,
right?
right?
I don't think so. Actually, Notre Dame ruined it for us one time the opposite way last year.
Yeah. I was just thinking of, wasn't
So
there an SMU game once that I'm thinking of the wrong game.
probably. There's
I'm
so
sure.
many. I
I'm
mean,
sure
we
we've
won one.
all.
We won once last year. There's so many that have busted on us. So
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Not
Well, there
this
you
year.
have it. Not this year. All right, guys. Do you guys want
All
to go through
right.
the picks thing quick?
We'll do our picks now. Boy, how do we want to do this? Do you guys have a good slot of picks?
Well, honestly, I don't have it up in front of me right now, so maybe we'll
Yeah.
just We'll
Well,
stick
here,
with the Sky Putt parlay this time, and
I could.
we'll go ahead.
All right.
It's up to you, I guess.
Here's what we'll do. We're gonna start with. We'll do. How many games do you want to do? 5 big
I think
ones.
5.
Yeah, we could do 5.
Okay. We got a good
5 big ones.
package here. Okay. We do have on actually this Saturday. Why don't we just start it this Saturday?
Okay.
24th, we got Florida State against Georgia Tech. Florida State is 11-point favorites. They're on the road. What do you guys think?
Seminoles, baby. Obliterate those Yellow Jackets. That's the only logic I got. I'm going to stick with it.
Okay.
I'll take Georgia Tech to cover. This one is in Ireland, so
Yeah.
Oh,
weird overseas game.
okay.
I think Georgia Tech could be better than people think. I think Florida State's really good, but I'll take the dog and the points.
Yeah. I'm going to pick Florida State. I think that they're going to want to put out a statement right away to show everyone that it was a mistake leaving them out of the playoff last year. I got the Seminoles.
Alan confirms it's in Ireland. He also just wanted to say live watch party for the game on their channel. So we can join that chat. Maybe hook up with the host game and see what happens. We'll see how it goes. We might be too crabby.
Yeah. Game number 2, this is a fun one. A week later, August 31st, we got Clemson on the road against Georgia. Big time game. Georgia's 14-point favorites.
I know.
I think I'm going to pick Clemson to cover. I think Georgia's going to be really good, but I think that Clemson can come within the 14 points.
I think Georgia pulls away late. I think they want to prove something. I like Georgia to cover that. I just think Georgia's a top 3 team easily in the country this year. I know that's not that bold of a statement, but I think they'll take care of business.
Yeah, I'll probably take Georgia too. I don't know that Clemson is going to score at all. Like, they're both really good defenses, obviously, but I'll just take Georgia.
All right. The next game that we got is North Carolina State. They play Colorado. Colorado is 9-point favorite. They're at home. I'm going to go with North Carolina State covering the 9 points.
I think it's North Dakota State.
You're saying North Dakota State. I'm sorry, NDSU.
Yeah. I was like, I completely missed this game.
Yeah, NDSU. They're on the road against Colorado. Colorado is 9-point favorites. I'm going to go with NDSU covering that. Obviously, Colorado is, they generate a lot of hype. They do have talent, but I don't think they should underestimate this NDSU team. I mean,
because NDSU does this to everybody.
Right.
The problem is, I feel like Vegas knows that money's going to be coming in on NDSU. You know what I mean? I almost expect the spread to be a little bit less, just for how good of a program NDSU has been. But I mean, I know they're a different division and stuff. So, but I'm going to go with I'm going to take the bait and go NDSU +9 as well.
Yeah, that's a scary one. I'm going to take Colorado just because I don't think NDSU can keep up in the end.
Yeah.
But North Dakota, they can run the football. Colorado, as we saw last year's defense, was terrible. So if they improve their defense, I think they can cover the 9 at home.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll do 2 more for all of you. On Saturday, the 31st, Penn State is on the road against West Virginia. I don't know if this is a rivalry between the two. It might be.
They're kind of close. I
Yeah,
think there's some back and forth there between the fan bases.
right. Penn State are 10-point favorites on the road. Um, I'm going to go with Penn State. I think that this year they're going to really try and go for it all. I don't know if they'll make the playoff as per my prediction. However, I think that they'll have a solid team. I think Penn State covers the 10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's a really good line. I'm also going Penn State, though. I liked the Kansas offense that Kansas had been running, and that's now Penn State's offensive coordinator is the guy from Kansas. So um, I think West Virginia's going to come out fired up, and so for that reason, it could get pretty close to that spread, but I like Penn State to pull away.
Nice.
yeah, I like Penn State too. Scary one on the road at West Virginia, but I think they can. I think they can win by 2 touchdowns there, at least early on.
Yeah. All right. And then lastly, this is Sunday, September 1st, a big one. The USC Trojans are on the road against LSU. LSU is 6-point favorites. I feel like that line is good. The over-under is at 62.5.
Yeah, that's a great line.
It
That's going to be
is.
offense galore, I think. I got to see USC's defense before I believe in this new defensive coordinator. Kind of similar to UNC. You know, they got talent all over the field there, but it just has not meshed as of yet. So I got to see it before I believe it for them. I'm going LSU. Just a tough opening game, I think. And LSU's
Yeah.
got that offense rolling. I know they don't have the Heisman winner anymore, Jaden Daniels, but I think Brian Kelly's a pretty dang good coach. Not that Lincoln Riley isn't. I just think LSU's gonna pound them.
Yeah, LSU's got a lot to replace too, and their defense was also terrible. But I will take LSU to cover just because I think USC's defense is going to be that much worse than theirs.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Trojans. And here's why. I hear all the hype about this new defensive coordinator. USC's defense have been abysmal for the past couple of years. How much worse can it get? I only see them going up. They cover the 6 points. I got the Trojans. And those are the fabulous 5 picks of the week. What do you guys think? Leave comments below. Who do you think will win the year matchup of the 5 picks? We'll have a spreadsheet for you week by week showing who is in the lead, who's tied, and who is the big loser.
Yeah. It's you this week.
Yeah, it's probably true. But that'll do it, everyone. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and thanks again to the Heel Brothers for joining the podcast on this special crossover episode. Again, please check out the Heel Brothers content. It's really awesome. And also check out thecollegehuddle.com, where our partners across the whole United States, affiliated with a lot of different college football programs, are putting out podcasts every day. Lots of articles out there to check out as well. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, X, and wherever you can listen to your podcasts. And also, please like and subscribe to the video. Helps us spread awareness of the show and helps us keep putting out great content to share with you all. Go ahead and leave us some comments, what you think. What are your predictions of this upcoming game? But as always, good night. Go Gophers.